Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review for Boku no Hero Academia Season 3, Episode 7. So we have a lot to talk about this time around as usual for this series. I felt like the episode, though, it was really good. We slowed down a bit for the post-arc. We're kind of cooling down. We kind of finished off this arc. We're cooling down before we head right into the next thing that's quickly incoming, it would seem. Probably in the next episode or two, I would guess we'll probably get the next thing. Don't worry about spoilers here, because though I have read the manga, I usually do the reviews from sort of a point of view as if I had never read the manga. Unless there's something I need to point out, like, oh, this was done better, or oh, this could have been done better. But yeah, I thought watching this episode the first time, I was watching it, I was like, it's a good episode like every week. Maybe I was expecting a little bit more. This was the first time this season, I guess it's really left me feeling that way. But then rewatching it a second time and watching other people's videos on it directly after I watched it the first time, it was so much better the second time. I picked up on so many things that I feel like I missed it. I don't know, maybe it's because I just watched when I first woke up this morning, but there were so many more things that I caught the second time, and it was overall such a better experience. So yeah, I really ended up liking it and saw a lot of detail in it. So we have a lot of detail to discuss. Let's go ahead and start discussing it from beginning to end here. So starting off, Kirishima, we flash back to when they first found out they were targeting Bakugo. Kirishima wanted to go out and fight, and Ida was advocating for basically the same thing, saying, if we're all here in a group, shouldn't we, and we don't know the number of villains, shouldn't we be fighting back but in a group together and using the numbers advantage? But either way, that doesn't really work. Another Dabi clone comes to jump in there to keep Vlad pinned down, and that's the whole reason they can't really go out and fight as a group, because the students could get hurt or killed very easily and quickly. We've seen it work out for the students thus far, but from the standpoint of the heroes, these are kids compared to hardened murderers like Moonfish or Muscular, who in most circumstances could just completely kill them if they wanted to, if that was part of the job that they were on. But we see that Vlad's quirk, first of all, is blood control, but we see that it isn't really just trying to kill the kids. That's not really the job they're after, because Dabi's clone explains, kind of gloating over them, monologuing, that they're just attacking society's trust in heroes. If they just keep attacking again and again, and keep showing that UA can be attacked, All Might can be attacked again and again, then after a while, society's just going to be like, why do we need the heroes protecting us? They're constantly getting attacked. They're drawing in villains. So the whole goal is to attack the society's trust in them, not exactly attack them physically. Even though that's what they're doing, that's not really the end goal here. And I think it's great strategy, both on that sort of macrocosm level, but on the smaller level, the good strategy of they're just sending in Dabi clones to try to keep Vlad and Aizawa distracted. And for the most part, it's kind of working. And that brought up one thing that could have been better. When Aizawa came in, he was just stomping on the clone. I remember in the manga laughing so much because it seemed like so gruesome. Like all you hear or you see where you're supposed to just hear the squishing noises as he's stomping on it off screen. So I thought maybe if the squishing noises were laughter or were louder or made it more pronounced or something, or showed like more shock on the student's face, like, oh god, just the comedy of him just coming in out of nowhere and just brutally stomping a mud hole, so to speak, into this clone. So going on from there, Aizawa was supposed to leave Kota with them, but we don't ever jump back to that group. We get to where we're at presently at the end of last episode, and the 3v3 mini-fight looked really great. I liked all of that. Specifically, there was good Toga character work, I thought, with just the little things being used to develop all of these characters and make them better. I thought that Twice's weapon is really, really cool. The way it's like blades, and it looks like super thin, like I would say it's sort of like a flexible razor blade kind of material, but he kind of pulls it out from that thing around his wrist like measuring tape. I think that's a really cool idea for a weapon, really unique. I thought that it was really great how they put such detail into just the small, minute movements that Compress had made last episode, where we see as he's jumping away, he puts his hand in his pocket to put something away, and just that small thing that you might not have even noticed was brought back up again, like, oh, I took the things out of your pocket, but also used to develop him more, like, I knew you would see me making that small movement even if I didn't bring any attention to it. I knew you would see me doing that. And so I knew you would go for the decoys for the wrong thing. So again, developing his character more, but I like that each of the villains have these character flaws, and Compress's for the past 2 episodes have been really, really glaring, where his flaw is that he will not stop running his mouth and showing off because he's the former entertainer. And as clever and as talented as he is, it would seem, he just cannot keep his mouth shut. He can't stop showing off, to the detriment of the League of Villains. Like, he could have easily just run away to somewhere else where Kurogiri could find him with those two, or he could have just jumped in the warp gate right then when Shoji's like, haha, I've got both of them, and they all try to run away. They could have just let them run away, which is what Compress was trying to do, like, Dabi, don't chase after him, I got this. But then he had to run his mouth. So again, he loses Tokoyami, kind of definitely his fault. But I like how even just jumping in the portals, I felt like it developed characters even more, because even the small things like the way they did it with Twice just comedically diving through, knowing that on the other side is probably just the floor of the bar or something. And then Toka going through and saying, bye Deku, I hope to see you again, that kind of thing, was all really, really good. Trying to see if I didn't miss anything. No. Aoyama hits the mask off of Compress's face, which I like because it gives him a moment to shine, but it also leads into, I would think that's got to lead to development for later on for Aoyama. Him being a part of this, I don't see how they would just skim over that kind of thing. So I like that he got to be involved there. One thing I absolutely loved was the Dabi and Todoroki interaction. I was wondering, as someone who's read the manga, I was wondering how that was going to go in the anime, but I thought it was really, really good. And I liked as well Bakugo being pulled in, where he just calmly says, like, don't come, Deku. So I really like that in the sense that we have seen again and again where Bakugo's putting on this kind of show where he's like yelling at everybody, so angry, I'm going to be number one and stuff. But underneath, he's very smart. He knows what he's doing. Like, even last episode where his pride was like making him be like, guys, don't freaking protect me, don't do all this stupid stuff, but he was still going along with them because it was the right thing to do, and he knew it was the right thing to do. He was just like, don't uninclude me from this plans, act like I'm just some sheep that needs to be protected here. So I really like that, and what I got from this was sort of like his normal yelling at Izuku and all that, but he was like, the right thing to do. This isn't a moment to be playing into all that. He's probably scared. He's being kidnapped by villains. He's like, don't come after me, Deku. He knows better than that. Knows that will not be something that works out for either of them. So again, I like all of that. And then comes my favorite part of the episode, was just the shot. After they left, when it was quiet, the sadder music starts to come up. We see just the burning forest and the 4 of them, Tokoyami, Shoji, Todoroki, and Izuku silhouetted there. Just all 4 of them completely mouth agape in shock, like everything's quiet around them, but they're like, what just happened? Did we just lose? And then going from there to an amazing scream from Izuku's voice actor. They have been killing it this season. So yeah, all of that was great. Then we have the aftermath, the sad music that was starting to build starts to swell, and we have all these different characters and how they're all injured and sort of coming back together and all that. Then after the commercial break, we get the narrative aftermath, where we have just Izuku narrating it, which I love when we get the scenes with Izuku narrating. We find that 15 were taken down by the gas, and this is a serious thing because we know that a few days later, at least 3 or 4 days I would surmise, at least 3 or 4 days later probably, they're still out from the gas. So it's something that lasts a while. 15 are down from that. 11 of them are injured to varying degrees. We see like Uraraka and Tsuyu just have cuts, but Izuku's pretty jacked up, and Momo has some serious head trauma as well. And Awase's just kind of scratched up a bit as well. And I would say Shoji in that list is pretty hurt. There were 13 students that managed to make it out uninjured and 1 missing. And then of the heroes, Pixie Bob, the way they translated it for the anime was just like she was in like harsh condition after a hit to the head or something. But I was like, I wish they would have said like critical condition or like head trauma or something like that. Something that is more medical and evokes more of a sense of, oh crap, it's seriously bad. Because I remember the manga used that kind of wording, and it made you think, oh crap, it's really, and it is really bad. So I felt like some of the injuries, and even with the Ayurozo's injuries, the way they were described, I feel like the anime kind of dumbed it down maybe a little bit, kind of made it seem not as big or important as it is to have taken a severe hit to the head, to be knocked out for a few days, or to lose some memory, because that's pretty rough. And also Ragdoll is missing, but there was a lot of blood at the scene, and we'll see where that goes later on. I'm sure you all probably definitely understand that. Also, this reminds me, I was going to bring something up at the beginning of the video. This episode and stuff got me looking at some side info and stuff that was from some of the character pages, I think character books, and from the volume release. I might talk about some of that at the end, but I'm just going to do it at the end. It might be some stuff that it's not going to have any spoilers, but some of the anime only watchers might like to know, or maybe even some of you that have read the manga but haven't looked into the character books or the actual full volumes. So yeah, I'll talk about that stuff at the end, but that just reminded me. The villains, Muscular, Moonfish, and Mustard were all captured, 3M characters. So I guess that means there aren't any other villains with... No, there aren't any other villains with M. I was going to say whoever's with... Oh, Magne. Not looking good for Magne. The M names, very unlucky. Mineta, you're a hero, kind of. Student, not very heroic. But Mineta, you on the chopping block too. That's the only other M name I can think of at the moment. We see the media swarming the school, which I think is really cool. I absolutely loved how the school is just in darkness. Like, they're all just hiding the dark, empty school, like, we're not home. But the 5 of them, Snipe, Midnight, All Might, Nezu, and Present Mike are all having a meeting. I just thought it was funny how the school was dark. Like, no, nobody home. Then they talk about things like the basic theme was the heroes got complacent. They were like, organized crime hasn't been all that much of a thing since All Might came around. And we thought that if something bad were to happen, that we'd maybe have some time to prepare for it. So they just got complacent over time. I like that Present Mike gets a bit serious and is talking about, hey, there's got to be a traitor among us, right? Like maybe among one of us teachers or among one of the students. But I like that out of that all, Snipe is kind of a voice of reason here, in my opinion, because as fans and for them in the series, we don't know if there's actually a traitor, because he said, oh, one of the students could have sent their locations with their cell phones, or the villains could have somebody that can just tell where the cell phone signals are, by that same logic. We've seen quirks to do all kinds of things. I mean, Ragdoll's quirk, Search, super OP, can see 100 people at a time. So just in general, I feel like there's good reason to think there might not even be a spy to begin with, especially since, like they brought up, we're just going to tear each other apart if instead of focusing on making the students safer, instead of focusing on handling this threat, if all we do is go after each other trying to figure out who the spy is, we're just going to tear each other apart. So that makes it even harder on them and even worse on them to even go after a spy. And that's why they said, we just need to take all of this slow. If we look for a spy, it has to be a slow thing that we figure out over time. We can't just go out searching for a spy because there might not even be one, and even if there is, it's going to take a lot of resources and distract us when we should be worrying about other things. So I like that. I like that sort of the slow way that they're taking it all. And Nedzu again being a voice of reason as well, where he's like, well, I can't prove I'm innocent, but that's not what we need to focus on. We need to focus on making the student safe. All Might gets a phone call from Tsukauchi, who says that he knows where the villain's hideout is, probably. So now we know why the pros are going to be, why the pros were in the opening, and I'm really, really excited for that, to get some development for pros, because Tsukauchi says the pros are going to go in and they're going to have their counterattack. They talk about all that. And I like how then we get some development for what's going on in the story through the media coverage. That was a good way to handle it. And we just see quickly the villains with Bakugo, but in just that quick moment we saw them, one thing I like about it is they're like, when he's holding the picture, he's like, the heroes are oppressing someone other than us, sort of as a pretense for, we're going to get him to join our side. But then the one time we see them, they're doing the same things that when they were talking about the heroes oppressing them, they had a picture of that. They're doing the same thing, having Bakugo tied up there. So I like that it's showing the hypocrisy on the villain's part, and why the villains are the villains, why they're the bad guys, the sort of lapses in their judgment here, their hypocrisies. So I like just that one little thing we saw. Then Izuku was really bad off. He said for like 2 days he was like in and out of convulsions and consciousness and all of that. And even with the healing from Recovery Girl, he is still all jacked up. And I love that because it's good, realistic stakes for what's going on. Too often I see, even in series I like One Piece, we see stakes where these characters can get the shit knocked out of them, just beat all to hell, and then in an unrealistic way be like, okay, we're fine a couple days later or whatever. But it's a lot more realistic here with Boku no Hero Academia, where even the little scratches and stuff we see throughout the series on characters like Ida, in Todoroki, we see that they have scars now from the cuts from Stain and stuff. Even these small things mean something and carry on throughout the series and are important. So again, I love all of that. And I think Ida actually has a scar on his forehead now, doesn't he? From where he got his helmet knocked off from that one slash with the sword. But yeah, either way, I really, really love how injuries are important and the stakes are kind of realistic. You could die or seriously hurt yourself being a hero in this world. Even though that's not what the series is focused on, because it doesn't have to, at least not yet. It's still building up. We don't need a bunch of character deaths in something. We don't need things to be overly edgy. That doesn't make something better, per se. So I really like the realistic stakes without being just super overly edgy. Because even being super overly edgy isn't really realistic. Then we had the information that Jiro and Hagakure, they're still out unconscious because of the gas. Momo just woke up the day before. She has head damage, obviously. And I like that Izuku brings up Aizawa was right, making his words from Season 1 meaningful here. This show does a lot of callbacks to things way in the past and building upon important things little by little throughout the series. And Aizawa was right that when Aizawa was like, what is your potential going to be if you throw this ball and break your arm? What is your potential going to be if you're a hero and you hurt yourself every time you do something? Once you hurt yourself with the first move, you're not going to be able to save anyone. So it came back and made sense that once he made his move, once he saved Kota, he hurt himself too much to save anyone else, which is why a self-destructive style doesn't work, which is why he really, really needs his full cowl. So all of that was really good. And I like how he starts crying and he's like, my body wouldn't move. So it's the opposite of the sludge situation, where with the sludge situation, he wasn't about to run in there. He was scared to death. But he was like, my body moved and I ran in there and I saved Bakugo. When this time, when it came to saving Bakugo, he wanted to do it this time. With all that he had, he wanted to go in and save him. But his body wouldn't move this time. So it's showing a character shift for Midoriya and new goals, or really new walls or obstacles that he has to overcome as a character. So all that, very, very good. Kirishima and Todoroki plan to go after the villains using Momo's tracking device. Ida gets really pissed off because he just went through this with going after Stain when he wasn't supposed to and seeing all the trouble he caused, and especially bringing it up to Todoroki. Todoroki was one of the ones there with him, and being really pissed off that Todoroki, of all people, is planning to do this and not learning his lesson from Ida's point of view. So that was really good. And the line at the very end where he's like, Midoriya, your hands can still reach. I thought in the manga that was an incredibly good line, and I think they might play that up more next episode and what that might mean to Izuku. Just from the preview we saw, the promo for next episode, I think they're going to play that up a bit as an important line. So I don't mind that it wasn't handled really big here. It's obviously not as big as the "you can be a hero" line or anything, but I remember reading that in the manga like, oh, that's a big important line, with Kirishima reaching out his arm and saying, Midoriya, you can still, Midoriya, your hand can still reach. So again, that's a really good line. It was cool that they ended on it, even if it wasn't like built up as this huge emotional thing at the time. So yeah, episode as a whole had incredible detail and development. I've said a million times in this review, because it's a huge important thing here. And I think the only issues that I had were that there were some small things that could have been improved. Like I said, the stomping or Kirishima's line at the end, I think either of those things could have been, the emotion in them could have been brought up more. The first one a bit of a comedic way, and secondly in a more serious, emotional manner. But either way. And yeah, like I said, when I first saw the episode, I thought it was good. Rewatching it, there was so much detail. And there was just a lot more to it than I originally thought. As a score, I'd give it 9 injuries out of 10. I was originally going to go lower, but I had to bump it up. 9 out of 10. Again, a great episode of a great show every single week. Now, this review's already kind of long, so it's going to take me a while to get it up on the channel. But there was some stuff that right before recording this, I wanted to talk about this at the end, just discuss some stuff that I think might be cool for some anime-only watchers to know, and it's not going to be spoilery at all. But it might also be cool for manga readers who haven't read like character books and side stories and stuff. So there are these character pages that Horikoshi does a lot for various characters, and in these different character pages there's a picture of the characters in just their like casual clothes, and then also some information about them as a character away from the main story, and also some things that are like, I don't know, some things like production things, like how he came up with their design or different things like that. And before this, for one reason or another, I was looking at Mandalays, and I think the big reason... So I was looking at information on Mandalay because I always thought in the manga, and that's why I was surprised when it came up in the anime, I thought that she was Kota. I'm trying not to get Kota and Koda confused, but she was Kota's aunt. And that's why when she was like, oh, he's my cousin or my cousin's kids, in the anime I was like, wait, what? But no, I found out they actually did change it, and it's not a translation. I was like, okay, I guess it was just a translation issue. But no, it's not a translation issue. They actually changed it in the anime for some reason. They changed it, so now Mandalay is, for some reason, I guess, to me, she's still Kota's aunt, basically. She's the nearest relative that after his parents died, she got custody, and she's just this older first cousin of his parents. So she's still basically his aunt / adoptive mother, but in the manga more so when... I don't know why they changed that, because she was like literally her sibling was one of his parents, and her sibling-in-law was the other parent. So I don't know why they changed that at all. That seems like a very... Tell me what you think, but that seems like a very weird and minor thing to change. And that's what makes me want to talk about it, because it just seems like the weirdest thing in the world. Like, why did they change that? That seems incredibly weird to me. I don't really get it. So there's that, but also just some random stuff about the characters, especially about the Pussycats we saw before. I had mentioned before one of the things from one of these character sheets where I said that Tiger from the Pussycats was actually born female, but is trans male, and has actually already undergone, I guess gender reassignment surgery is the proper name for it, but I'm not completely certain. So that's just, again, a really cool background for the character that is a side thing that isn't really something important to the main story or anything, but I think these little things about the characters and their personal lives are really cool. More of them is that Ragdoll was the one that wanted the four of them to join and make a hero team together. Pixie Bob is the one that sort of filled out the paperwork and came up with their costume, like their names and costume designs and stuff. And one thing that was funny that was brought up, that's something I like to talk about with Boku no Hero Academia a lot. I love the way all the character designs are very different, and that all the characters, they have different body shapes, different faces, hairs. There's so much variety. And one thing that Horikoshi brings up in the character page for Mandalay, he's like, not that it really matters, but she has really big boobs. So because he says that about her character in specific, and no other female character, like not even some more almost sort of sexualized ones like Midnight, makes me think that maybe she has some sort of complex when it comes to her having big boobs, or maybe she feels like they get in her way or something. But it's interesting that that was key enough to her character to throw in there, but he didn't say anything like that about any other characters, and he usually doesn't say anything to that nature about most of the female characters. The only perviness is generally through the eyes of Mineta. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting side thing. And all the Pussycats are 31, so is Midnight. And I like some of the changes that he said he made to Midnight as a character, and I'm getting way off topic, but I don't really care. End of the review. Review's already over, we're just talking now. But I like that he said originally Midnight was supposed to be in Aizawa's place in the story, and Aizawa was supposed to be in Midnight's place, but for whatever reason he switched the two of them. He mentions that the stuff that the head, like the homeroom teacher of 1A would have to say to Izuku and the other students, they'd have to be really harsh, and that's why he changed it. So I guess that means he thought that Midnight's design wasn't what he wanted for her to be a harsh character like that, or maybe he thought that Aizawa's character fit that harsh nature better. But it's interesting to think that we could be seeing the story right now potentially with Midnight and Aizawa's places swapped if he didn't decide to make that change. Another thing with him mentioning that Mandalay had big boobs I wanted to bring up is something that I had read an interview with Horikoshi before, where he brought up that when he first started drawing manga and stuff, and even now he himself says that he has problems drawing female characters, and he said that that was a big challenge for him, was drawing a bunch of different female characters. So I think maybe it could be a thing where he envisions her to have really big boobs, but he doesn't want to draw her like unrealistic giant anime boobs or anything, because it doesn't fit the tone of My Hero Academia. So maybe he wants to draw her that way, and he's trying to convey that, but he doesn't really know a proper way to do that without it looking like silly giant anime boobs. So maybe that's the reason that he decided to throw that in there, is to be more specific with what he intended for the character design, but maybe didn't feel like he was able to properly convey. Just some other cool ones is ectoplasms is always really cool to me, where we saw in the test when he was fighting against Tsuyu and Tokiyami that he had the peg legs, and it's actually in his character page that he lost his legs to a villain, so now when he's just like off duty in his normal clothes he wears prosthetic legs, but when he fights as part of his hero outfit he uses those peg legs. So again, I think that's just a really cool side thing where we would see his peg legs and just think, oh, whatever, and never really know the story behind it without this little side character information. Or any other cool ones that I could bring up here. I'm probably forgetting a lot of cool ones, but another one I'm remembering now because I just got, like, once I clicked on one, it's like one of those things where you just go on a roll of clicking more and more. One other cool one I remember, though, to throw in, though, was that Mount Lady kind of has some financial struggles because every time she goes all out to fight, she destroys a chunk of the city and has to help repay damages and stuff like that. So she's in this constant cycle of going out and being a hero to make money and be famous, but then also destroying everything when she does her hero work. So she has to use the money she's making from that to repay that, which means she needs to go out and be a hero again to make more money. So she's stuck in this cycle of going out and being a hero to make money and using that same money to pay for the damages of her being a hero. So again, that's just a cool thing that you learn about the characters on the side. But yeah, either way, I liked the episode, and I hope you liked it too. I hope you liked the little random discussion at the end there. So yeah, that's about it. So if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this episode, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Boku no Hero Academia, much more on the channel. I cover both anime and manga, but try not to be spoilery in my manga review or reaction titles. So yeah, don't worry about that. Try not to be spoilery with that. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me or more of us there about the show or about the manga, then yeah, just feel free to ask in the comments and I can give you a link to the Discord server. No real requirements to get in or anything like that. It's just a place for us to talk. So yeah, that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.